Hi, I'm Marcel, and today I'll be going over the post, "What's your extremely hot take on a TTRPG mechanic or setting lore?" by user Horny But Tired. So, you know, as it goes with posts like this usually, I imagine that the takes aren't actually going to be that hot. But we'll see. I'll rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 on how controversial I think they are. I'm probably going to end up sorting this by controversial to get something good, if there's even any controversial comments on here, which I don't know if there's going to be, but we'll see. There's 1,500 comments, so I would hope so. Well, let's get into it. A take so hot, it borders on the ridiculous, if you please. Okay, well, there's a difference between a hot take and saying something stupid, right? So there's also that to keep in mind. The completely absurd hill you'll die on with regard to TTRPGs. Here's mine. I think starting from the very beginning, Shadowrun should have had only 2 totally different magic systems for mages and shamans. Is that absurd? Needlessly complex? I have no clue what they're talking about, so I don't know how weird this is. Do I understand why no sane game designer would ever do such a thing? Yes to all those. This doesn't sound like that horrible. Does it? Am I crazy? But still, I think it would have been so cool to have these 2 separate magical traditions existing side by side but completely distinct from one another. Would have played up the 2 different approaches to the 6th world. Anywho, what about you? Okay, so we have games like Ars Magica and Mage the Ascension, where you just have one really, complex magic system, freeform stuff. But, RuneQuest has 3 different magic systems. I mean, Spear Magic and Rune Magic are pretty similar. But then sorceries, they act pretty differently from those 2 other systems. So, is this, for the people that have played Shadowrun, how... This is like a 1, right? Right? So yeah, you could probably tell by the thumbnail and how I worded the title of this video that these takes are not hot at all. So really, the enjoyment you're gonna get out of this is seeing me go insane looking through all these, trying to find something good. So have fun with that, I suppose. I think game balance is a dumb idea and doesn't matter at all. 1. I think game balance is unimportant, but niche protection is important. If you have a warrior, a magic user, a thief, and a cleric in a party, they should all be doing different things. If the magic user's fireball spell does more damage than the warrior, that's fine. If the thief is able to disarm traps, solve puzzles, sneak around, and had better damage and defense than a warrior, that can be a problem. As a GM, it's my job to take an imbalanced party and make sure each one has an opportunity to shine. Let the magic user fireball some goons, while the rogue tries to disable a strange device, while the warrior tanks the BBEG and the cleric supports all 3. Ugh. 1. This is, oh my god, I've heard this so many times. MFs will be like, oh, I don't care about game balance, and then talk about how the game should be balanced to make sure everyone has their own niche and can do their own things. That's game balance, guys. That's a form of game balance. Oh my god. People need to play more / different games rather than get stuck on one system or setting. That's about as hot that I've got that I'll stand by. Oh! Low-key might scrap this video. Hold on. Okay, that's a 1. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you want to stick with one system or one game, if that's really all you care about, you know, you don't feel like straying from what that system or setting's trying to do, that's fine. But this is... That's a pretty cold take, to be honest. I've had so much fun experimenting with different systems and wish more people would try it. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people do. A lot of people do try different systems. Like this is... It's a cold take on Reddit, but man, my anecdotal evidence is for most people I've met, yeah, D&D is the only TTRPG experience, and those other systems are too complicated or uninteresting. In my anecdotal evidence, this is a false claim. All of my friends play a bunch of different games. I've met a fair amount of people from my school who also play a bunch of different games, or at least multiple editions of D&D. So, it's okay, we're only on post 2, or comment 2, so please get better. Non-human species should feel really alien to play, not like humans with some trait kicked up, different sensoria, different emotional landscapes, and this should all be well mechanized. 1. Hey guys, I'll see you all next week when I have a good post to go over. Old cold take, and many agree. There are natural hurdles to this playstyle though. Trying to play as something alien is either difficult or can easily turn an effective roleplayer into an attention-hogging that guy. GMing for that player or multiple is an increased cognitive load for the GM in order to describe the player's experiences. This multiplies for the number of different alien perspectives being catered to. If your table can handle both in a way that keeps it fun and leaves no one out, yeah, go for it. If you can't though, just be funny looking humans. I feel like it's fine if the elves are just like lanky humans with pointy ears who are either like really good with magic or nature, have some sort of nature affinity and just live for a really long time. You know, a lot of people say that like D&D elves are really bad because they're just like tall humans. First and foremost, apparently in older editions the elves are meant to be shorter than humans on average, which is crazy to me. And secondly, their lore is pretty deep. They have like some weird lore with their understanding and worldview that's really interesting. Depending on the setting, of course. They're all pretty different. That a lot of people just don't seem to look into or just ignore, and I don't get why. And that's just the elves. There's way more. Like, yeah, it's fun and cool if they're like different and weird, but also like not everything is that different. I mean, like, convergent evolution is a thing if they're like cognitive and whatnot. Likely over time certain similar things might evolve, or like there's certain truths in the world that happen that you can learn because of gods and stuff, depending on the setting again. I'm just saying, to where it's okay for them to be a bit similar in some ways, I think is fine. Having them being completely different depending on the circumstance, I feel like sort of doesn't work well, especially if everything's like that. Like, yeah, you have like a few that are really different from humans, then maybe another few that have like similar ties to humans, but then also those really alien ones, that works a lot better flavor wise. It just makes more sense in my brain with how species and whatnot evolve. And also, sometimes you gotta put the mechanics first. I know for some people that's not really a concern. For me, it is a concern. I don't care how cool and awesome and different the new species are. If they don't play well with the game, I don't care. If they play the same, that's even worse for your argument. Okay, I think if the next one is another one, I'm gonna sort this by controversial and hope that something is said. Anything. Like, more than 5 lines of backstory is too much. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Don't know if it is that hot of a take. Okay, it's definitely not a 1. I'd give it like a 2. I know some people really don't like backstory baggage, so it's not like the most out there thing. But I know some people who are the complete opposite of this. So, I think it's deserving of more than a 1. I like half pages, but I totally get ya. There was a post some months back pushing to normalize long backstories. I pushed back saying that if a player can't explain their backstory in 2 paragraphs, an additional 20 isn't going to save them. In fact, I usually find that players with 2 paragraphs max of backstory know the characters better than 12 pages. Backstories that long tend to just meander and include filler. Concise, to-the-point backstories grasp the core essence of their PC. I get that, yeah. It depends on how much I like the character. What I usually do is I'll have like the writing stuff where I like put all the details into it and just like go all out on as many pages as I can fill. But then I'll have a summary area where it's like a few paragraphs, some bullet points of like the most important things. And then everything else is just like, oh, I like writing. So that's why I do that. But also like, ooh, this little thing could maybe come up in the future if the story seems to be going that way and I can bring it up with the GM or whatever. But yeah, I get this. It's not even lukewarm, but it's not ice cold. So I'll take it. Hi, it's Arceel. Just stopping by for a quick little intermission since we're about the halfway point of the video-ish. I would hope that you like it so far, so if you could do me the honors of liking and subscribing and perhaps turning on your notifications, that would be so awesome sauce. Anyhow, back to the video. Cooperative storytelling is not at all what I feel most people are doing when playing most TTRPGs. I think cooperative problem solving is a better way to put it. There are definitely more narratively based games out there, but any game where players tend to be more focused on what gear, stats, and abilities they have rather than the quality of the story being produced has a hard time justifying itself as a storytelling game in mind. That might just be a thing of the system that you're wanting to run. I don't think... This one's a hard one, because like, I know that my group isn't exactly all in on cooperative storytelling. Like, that's not the... We don't use systems that promote themselves as such, I think is the best way to explain that. Because like, if they have a story that they want to do, or like certain character arcs and beats, all they have to do is tell me, and I'll be like, cool, I'll put something about that in the game. But like, I don't need to have this be like, you know, one of those narrative GM-less games where everyone works together to come up with the story. That's not what we want out of the game. I know there are other people out there who agree with this opinion. I know there are a lot of people out there who do not. So I guess in that sense, a 2, maybe a 3. It's not like, it's just a thing of taste, you know? We're like, I don't know. There's clearly enough of a group for both. I don't think it's like the most... It's controversial in the sense that some people agree and some people don't, and there's like 2 pretty distinct camps for it. But like, I don't think there's like that big of a push for cooperative storytelling in the greater sphere that would warrant this being that hot of a take. But also, like, we're looking at Reddit, and I know that the type of people on here are maybe, especially in r/RPG, maybe this makes more sense for the setting here. Yeah, I don't know on this one. I'm gonna be safe and give it a 2. It's not bulging out at me as like a big thing, but it's something. Okay, we're sorry my controversial, and I hope this is like better. Please be better. TTRPG should always be mind's eye. Miniatures and grids make it a board game. Okay. 4, maybe. 3? 4. I like to use visual aids. I know a lot of people like to at least use like a few visual aids. Well, depending on what they mean by miniatures and grids, like only those, like if I shared a map, would that be okay, right? I think I'm gonna take them directly at their word and say that those are fine. I don't know, man. I think if someone wants to play with miniatures and grids, that's fine. There's a certain extra aspect to it that I think makes certain games run better. Depending on what you like to play, it's definitely a good aid for what's going on and keeping everything in track. I know some people definitely abide by the theater of the mind way of playing, so it's not like they're alone or in a small group on this, but maybe it's just because it's something more than what was said previously that's making me think this is bigger than it is, but I'm gonna give this a 4, I think. You don't need a whole bunch of different systems, you just have to find a system that works for you and that you can adapt to different settings and stories. I know that this is a truth to many players, but online it can look pretty different. And yes, I know that I'm all too guilty of buying way too many systems. Dungeon crawls are boring. There, I said it. I generally don't find combat the most interesting part of a game, and as long as a game isn't completely built around it, it should only ever be a fraction of it, not the focus. Having a lot of different options may look nice at a distance, but it usually camouflages a lack of actual choice. Sure, there might be 150 classes, but that also means that each of them is very delineated, leaving less space for originality. Okay, so there's 3 of them here, where we're gonna go at them one at a time. On the first one, like a 1. A bunch of people just use D&D as their be-all end-all system, not even a generic system, so I think, yeah, some people are like that. That's not very new, I guess. Also, some people just like playing a one game and that's it. Like, they don't even need to build around different settings and stuff. It's just like, yeah, I like playing fantasy, so I use D&D, or whatever your fantasy of choice is. Dungeon crawls are boring. They can be. They're not always my favorite, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't like dungeon crawls that much, right? Maybe this is like a 3. I know a lot of older players and systems are built around it, and you know, there's the OSR and all of that, but I think a lot of like mainline things aren't very built around that kind of thing, so at least not the focus. Like, obviously D&D can still do it, but this is kind of whatever. Maybe a 2, because there's like the whole OSR space and all of that. I'll give it a 3. Having a lot of options. This is purely on the system. Clearly, they don't think having a lot of options is bad. They think having a lot of insubstantial options is bad, because of that last little bit where they say that 150 classes, but they're all very delineated. The problem here is that the options aren't that impactful. They're trying to mask that, or maybe they're not trying to, but it's happening. So I'm gonna give this a 1, because that's not the issue that's kind of getting at. Players should decide what skill to roll, not the GM. Okay, we're getting somewhere with this. If you are afraid they might try to cheese the game by picking skills that don't make narrative sense, that's a problem with your players. Giving them freedom to choose skills lets them represent their character mechanically in great ways. Related to this, I hate point-buy systems. Oh, okay! Let me just decide my wizard is very smart and also decent in social situations, or my wizard is very smart and also perceptive, but very awkward in social situations, and then just translate those concepts into game mechanics. There's between an int 18, wiz 10, charisma 14 wizard, and an intelligence 18, wisdom 12, charisma 12 wizard is not huge, and all the math and planning and counting of a point buy system to figure that out is unnecessary. Okay. This, I'm hesitant. Let me go through my thought process real quick. Pondering on it a little bit more, I have the final say in my games of what skills that the players roll. but usually we'll work with each other. We're like, oh, I'm trying to do this. Can I try to roll these kinds of skills? And I'll be like, okay, to my understanding of the game, or like how it's worded in the rules, I think maybe these skills might be better, but if you want to use those skills, just like switch up your wording a little bit to something more like this, and there might be different consequences and stuff for failures and whatnot. So I'll give this one maybe a 2, because I know there are probably gonna be some people who are less keen on this, but I do something similar anyway, so I don't think it's that weird. That might just be a me thing, who knows. I am conflicted on their point buy rant, because clearly this seems very D&D 5e focused. I've played other games where a point or two in a skill or in a core stat is kind of important. So I think this is one of those things where it's not a hot take, it's just, or like a really hot take, it's just a take derived from ignorance, essentially. But if we are looking at it from the lens of D&D 5e, I know a lot of people probably can't get behind this. So for that, if we're looking through that lens for it, I'll give it a 5. But otherwise, I'll maybe give it a 2. Fun mechanics suck. Okay, that's a way to start it. I don't care if it's drama counters, cool novelty dice, or fun names for existing ideas. They're all terrible. And you ruined it. Oh, we were getting somewhere. There'll be at least one player who doesn't get it. Why should I spend XP for success? Or what does 3 stars mean on the weird D8 again or whatever? Okay, buddy, at that point, that's just a problem with your player. Why should I spend XP for success? What kind of straw man is that? Who says that? When you get a few sessions in, the novelty wears off, and you're stuck with something that's at best a little clunky and at worst actively breaks immersion, as you have to stop action to deal poker hands or whatever. Novelty dice, cards, just renaming mechanics to new things. People, okay, with like the dice and stuff, people actively dislike that in some cases, and with the fun names, it's like, no one cares. Most people also criticize it because it's just the same thing, right? I'd much rather have a straightforward resolution mechanic that gets out of the way of the story. D20, okay. 3d6, excellent. D100, fine. Dice pool, side. What's wrong with a dice pool, bro? That's the hot take. But the rest, I was so excited. Bro got me hook, line, and sinker. I'll give like the dice pool comment specifically like maybe a 3 out of 10. Because I know there are some people out there who really don't like dice pool. And I don't know why. Like, it's not my favorite resolution mechanic, but like, it works. It's fine. Rolling a bunch of dice is fun. But overall, like, 1. Oh. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. This one. Oh man. I had a little bit of faith go again. I was thinking like, obviously I'm gonna have to sort it by controversial to get something out of it. But, man, there was like 1, maybe 2 good things out of all of this. This sucked. God, if you have any TTRPG hot takes, I'd love to hear in the comments, and I'll rate them. I'll rate them on how hot of a take they are. That's the end of the video. So, bye bye.